Now an Achilles heel, so to speak, for Darnold is that he's thrown 9 interceptions this season. That's 4th most by any quarterback in the country. We harp about Notre Dame forcing turnovers. They've been able to do that. And the boat's continuing to ride on the water here at Lake Maxinkuckee, which also the Notre Dame football players are going to have the opportunity to do that while they're here at camp as well. Again, they're here for 5 days before they return back to Notre Dame. This is the 9th time Notre Dame has made it to an NCAA tournament, the 3rd time that they've actually made it here to the Frozen Four, but the team still looking to bring that national championship back to South Bend for the first time. No, I am not on a football field right now. I'm actually at an IKEA here in Arizona, and so are some of the Notre Dame players. Now, all season they've talked about building team chemistry. Well, today, here in Arizona, they're helping other ones build something themselves. St. Joe taking home the hardware, the 2nd St. Joe team to bring home a state championship this season. As for Penn, head coach Greg Dykes, this was his first loss in the state championship game. Penn senior John Ohlson is nearing the end of his high school career. Now, every student in high school has their own journey before they walk across that stage on graduation day. But for John, his journey has been very unique. There's been highs, there's been lows, and through those lows, it could have been easy to simply give up. But that was never an option for old Johnny P. It was a normal February day in 2015.
Well, I was actually on my way to school when I got a call, and I quickly turned around, and my mom wanted me to go back to school, but you know, I felt the need to go to the hospital, and so I got there and obviously got bad news.
The man in the hospital was John's dad, Russ Ohlson.
It took us completely by surprise. Yeah. He left for work that morning, you know, 52 years old, healthy, non-smoker, you know, went to work and collapsed at his desk and had a stroke. And it took a couple of days. You know, we were getting a little bad news and bad news and bad news. So the stroke happened on a Thursday, and by Sunday he was gone. So we call this the Big Book of Russ.
It was a grieving period for the community and the Ohlson family. And eventually for John, that all turned into motivation.
I knew, like, in the back of my mind, you know, he was watching over. So I couldn't, like, let him down. I was, you know, going to the gym a lot. He gave me, like, an extra push, like, especially, like, on game day.
It was football season, a season that was quite memorable for John, who, despite only being a junior, made a huge impact in the team's success.
John Ohlson.
That was definitely, I think, personally, my best year of football I've ever had, and it's kind of awesome to think that, you know, it happened right after, in the same year that my dad passed. So, you know, I could dedicate that year to him.
That year, Penn went to the state championship. However, it would end in a loss. But that loss added another reason to get better for his senior year. And Ohlson picked up right where he left off, making plays. But then in week 2, another dose of adversity struck.
It was just a normal play, normal, like, every down play, and I saw the ball coming for me, and I caught the ball, and then I got hit, and I heard a pop, knew right away.
A blown out knee, a torn ACL, and a torn meniscus that would shelve John for the remainder of the season.
The whole thing was devastating, and really far more so because of everything we'd been through. Losing your senior season is crushing, but losing it after having so much loss, I was devastated.
After 7 months of rehab, here we are. John is running on the track.
Let's go, John!
He may only be limited to one event, but just being here is something special.
Just kind of ending without, you know, getting injured is kind of what I was looking forward to, and being a part of the team again.
You know, I'm so proud of him that he wants to make this effort at this point during his senior year, that he wants to put in the time, go to the practices. Just very proud that he's going the extra mile to finish out on top.
Good for him, absolutely. Now, to cap this story, John received a scholarship just last week called the 3 C's Memorial Scholarship. That stands for commitment, character, and courage, which perfectly fits what he's done over the years. Now, in order to get that scholarship, he had to write an essay, and that essay
was about the leadership and dedication to his dad, Russ.
Yeah, and Russ was a great guy, well known in the community. I know he coached my son along with his son Nate in baseball, and just a wonderful family.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned baseball. Well, currently at the Harris Fields, they put a memorial up for him that is in Granger after he passed. The community put that there in place for him at those fields. On the stone, it has a picture of him right there. I don't know if you can see it fully right there, but on that stone it says, "Always hustle and keep your head up." Great family. It was a thank you guys to the Ohlson family for talking to me about it.
Yeah, beautiful story. Thanks, Eli.
Thanks.
How long have you been a Chicago Cubs fan?
Well, I'm 90 now, and I was 10 when I went to my first game.
Meet Evelyn Pinnock, a diehard Cubs fan for the last 80 years. There aren't many fans left that can say they remember the last time the Cubs were in the World Series back in 1945.
Long time.
But Evelyn can. In fact, she went to 2 of those games when she was 19 years old.
We had just a great time. That was fun the whole night, even though we didn't sleep when it was kind of cold out. But we all had blankets and robes.
Evelyn and her friends camped outside of Wrigley Field. They were in the bleachers for one game, standing room only for the other. If you do the math, since the Cubs haven't won a World Series since 1908, you know the final outcome of that 45 series.
They won 7 games. Oh, that was sad. That 7th game, Detroit of all people beating them.
So the years have gone by.
Yeah.
71 to be exact, and during those years, children and even grandchildren have brought her memorabilia that she still has throughout her home.
This is self-explanatory. I don't know how they got that put on, but I loved it. Oh, well, they did, really.
She shares the love for the Cubs with her family, including her daughter Nancy, who's just as thrilled to watch this Cubs team.
Hey, 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 the famous Jack Brickhouse yell, just to be able to see it all unfold and just to see the excitement of everyone thinking that, you know, is this day ever going to come, and finally it's here?
It's just like, you don't have to say anymore. Wait till next year.
Being in the World Series is one thing, but what about winning it all?
My God, winning it? Can you imagine that? I can imagine Chicago, they're going to tear Chicago apart. They are going to win this. You could quote me. They are going to win this.
Is that it?
In just his 3rd season as head coach, Nate Andrews has led the Northwood Panthers to a state title game.
That's it, right? Call it. Doesn't matter. Call it.
You may know that Andrews is the son of the late Jim Andrews, a Hall of Fame coach at Northwood, before tragically dying in a car accident in 1992.
When he passed, it affected so many people. But I felt as a child I had a perfect childhood, and I saw the impact that he had on others, and I wanted to be like him.
Sure enough, Andrews, who graduated from Northwood in 1996, would get into coaching himself. He was a football coach for 11 years around the Indianapolis area, and then in 2013, the head coaching position opened up at his alma mater, and where his dad was on the sideline for 20 seasons.
I can't always say that growing up, I saw myself being a teacher and a coach at Northwood. I saw myself being a teacher and a coach, but certainly after his passing, it's hard for me to imagine anything else. Coaching and teaching at other places, I loved it, and I gave my heart and soul, but I don't know if it ever felt right.
And what could feel more right than bringing home a state championship to the Northwood community?
I think it would just be amazing, just like you said, everything that he's been through, with his dad, and, just for coming back to this community, that's not something that he had to do, but he wanted to come back here. He wanted to coach this team, he wanted to be with this program, and he's definitely brought this program back to where it needed to be.
Dad would be proud of me no matter where I was, as long as I was giving my best effort.
At Northwood High School, I'm Eli Gehn, News Center 16.